决断。
Dakar is the gatekeeper of the Lamu Fort. He's excited about a huge wedding that will take place here, even though that means being busier than usual. The wedding is scheduled for sunset, so Dakar has to have everything ready before then. Outside the fort, Lamu Island seems to be waiting in quiet anticipation for the joyous celebration. Lamu Fort was built by the British 2 centuries ago during the country's colonial period. Now it's an important venue for major gatherings and celebrations. Accompanied by her family, Aisha emerges wearing a veil. She is going to the home of tattoo artist Kasiva for the most important part of wedding preparations. Only close family members and friends are allowed to witness the tattoo ceremony, which is a long-time tradition on Lamu Island. From her first tattoo, her life will be forever changed. At the home of the bride's parents, everyone is singing as they wait for the evening's event to begin. The women and girls all have tattoos similar to the bride's. The girls get henna tattoos on their arms and legs as children. When they reach the age of 12 and are considered young women, they are no longer allowed to get such tattoos. Only when a girl gets married does she get another tattoo. At dusk, the male family members congratulate the young groom, who seems to be very nervous. By tradition, he won't be able to see his beautiful bride until dawn the next day. Lamu Fort is as bright as day inside. Only women are allowed to participate in this rite. Dressed in their finest, the women sing and dance as they shower the bride with blessings. The bride will not see her groom until dawn the next day, which is similar to an Arabic wedding tradition. As a tattoo artist, weddings always make Kasiva happy. She believes that giving the bride a beautiful tattoo is the best way to bless her. No one seems to know exactly how this tradition began, only that it has been passed down for many generations. Basically, the same complex pattern as the tattoo can be seen decorating buildings and fishing boats all over Lamu Island. But it appears that this pattern did not originate in Kenya. The heavy rain brings relief from the heat on Lamu Island. It provides a rare break from work for Sanko, but he is worried. A few days ago, a customer placed a rush order for a wooden door, but his apprentices are not picking up the necessary skills fast enough. Sanko is a carpenter who is famous on Lamu Island for his wooden doors. Most of the best doors on the island were made by Sanko and his father. Now Sanko is concerned about finding appropriate apprentices so he can pass his skills on to the next generation. Sanko is well aware of how long it takes to become a skilled carpenter. He has been learning from his father for over 10 years. Making a wooden door is a complicated process that usually takes 2 months. First, the carpenter must select a good piece of mahogany. Then he has to draw traditional decorations on it before carving them into the door with hand tools. Because making them is such a painstaking task, such doors are very expensive. Sanko and his apprentices always pray for Allah's blessing before they begin carving. Sanko and his apprentices are carving out the flower and leaf designs that have been drawn on the door. Just one mistake could ruin the whole thing. Sanko and his pupils are working around the clock to finish the door on time. As the sun rises on the island, Sanko can finally relax a little after nearly 2 months of non-stop work. He has just one last step to go to finish the wooden door. Today, he and his apprentices move it outside to finally polish it and give it several coats of paint to give the door brilliant color and attractive shine. Sanko and his apprentices take the finished door to the customer's home. The customer has been waiting in front of his house for its delivery for some time. The door attracts many admirers along the way, making its owner very proud. One critical test of the door is how well it fits into the door frame. Sanko is very careful with this step. He directs his apprentices as they put together the door.
After tomorrow will be Happy New Year. For get new door.
Installing a heavy door like this is no easy task. The carpenter must use a plumb to ensure that the door is in exactly the right position. The owner of the house inspects the installed door very thoroughly because it will reflect his family's honor. It takes several hours to install the door. When it's finished, it gives the owner's home a whole new appearance and makes him as proud as a peacock.
When you put the lamb door in your house, you have to be proud for the people. Get proud. See, oh, somebody have a good door. And many tourists, when he come to see, he's proud.
Making Lamu wooden doors is an old tradition. The patterns on the doors are very similar to the women's tattoos and the decorations on the men's boats. Experts believe that they are mainly Arabic patterns, combined with Indian and local patterns. But most people have no idea how these foreign patterns became part of Kenyan civilization. It's morning, and work has begun on the Mambre dig. One meter down, the archaeologists find many round holes in a darkly colored layer of earth. It seems to show signs of human activity. Testing shows that this layer has a higher density than the surrounding earth. The archaeologists speculate that it might be part of the foundation of a building. Architecture is the best evidence of human activity. If the experts' hypothesis is proven true, it will mean that the Mambre site was once a residential area. Kajiwa Tanga village is located in a dense, sparsely populated forest 12 kilometers from Malindi. The local villagers are known as the Bantu people. The villagers are building a new house for the bride and groom. In accordance with tradition, they first put up the framework for the house, then bring water from the nearby river to mix with dirt to make mud. The spaces between the branches of the frame are then filled with the mud. Finally, the roof is covered with palm leaves, which costs about 3 cents per leaf and is the only material that is not free. Archaeologists are very familiar with this kind of building. They are often found at sites of ancient civilizations, such as at China's Hamudu site. But in Kenya, buildings with wooden frames and mud walls are still in use today. For the archaeologists, these buildings with wooden frames and mud walls are positive evidence of human activity at the Mambre site. It can be assumed that such buildings have long been commonly used as housing in Africa. But the experts want to determine how and when the obviously foreign-style architecture came to Lamu Island. The day of the wedding has arrived. The groom's brother is guided by his father as he climbs up a palm tree, cuts open coconuts, and pours the coconut juice into a bottle. After a few hours in bright sunlight, the coconut juice will ferment to become delicious coconut wine, a local favorite. The normally quiet village has taken on a holiday-like atmosphere as the wedding approaches. The people gather at the home of the groom's father to drink the coconut wine and sing traditional wedding songs. This is one of the most joyous moments in life for the Bantu people. Meanwhile, the bride's mother and other female relatives are also preparing for the wedding. They go up the hill together to pick bougainvilleas, which symbolize peace and prosperity, to make bouquets for the wedding. In a few hours, all the villagers will gather here to bless the bride and groom. The bride is getting dressed in the newly built house. Her dress is brightly colored, and her hair is decorated with bougainvillea flowers. Outside, the drummers are preparing a fire to dry the leather drum heads, which improves the sound of the drums. The man and woman don't look like the typical bride and groom of today. This is something most people don't know about the Bantu tribe. Many young couples wait until they have enough savings for a proper wedding, which often doesn't happen until they are middle-aged. The father of the groom is the tribal chief, who is considered the father of everyone in the tribe. He directs and blesses every wedding that takes place in the tribe. This is a rare sight. People sprinkle corn and coconut wine on the feet of the newlyweds to ensure a good harvest. In this agricultural society, their dance incorporates the motions of sowing seeds and threshing wheat. The dance seems to be telling people about the distant past of the Bantu people. This is one of the oldest ethnic groups in Africa. The Bantu people were living in the tropical forests of Western Africa a few thousand years ago. They created the earliest agricultural civilization on the continent. The Bantu people began migrating from the area around the source of the Congo River toward the east, the west, and the south in the 1st century. This famous mass of human migration eventually impacted all of Africa. A branch of the Bantu people in the 2nd century AD crossed the vast forests and grasslands and the Great Rift Valley in East Africa. They finally settled on the east coast of Africa, where they lived by farming, fishing, and herding cattle. Then one day, the arrival of a large fleet of ships marked a turning point in their history. Zhao Jiabin is the leader for the Chinese part of the team. He and the other Chinese will begin formally excavating on the bottom of the sea around Lamu Island today. For a week, they have been exploring the seabed in the area, making a detailed map and studying their data. They are extremely excited about the artifacts they have found so far. The sonar data has indicated the area where significant finds are likely to be found. An underwater site is explored in 4 square meter sections, marked by a stainless steel frame, which is different from exploration on land. As the sections are explored one by one, the shape of a wrecked ship emerges. A special pump will be used to clean off the sand and seashell fragments clinging to the artifacts. The mystery buried in the seabed may soon see the light of day.
After 今天这个观察，我个人认为呢，这些金属部分是铅，应该是来自于船体的本身。它每一块木板，尤其这种条状物是这样，2块木板，它拼接的时候在内侧它压一条这个，它大量的用在这种船体部分，这就很怪。这首先是作为我们中国人或者我们东方人，我们很少用，或者基本不用。这边是不是来自于西方？或者说来自其他地区，这不好说。
The village of Kigabeni Bay is especially quiet at dawn. Aluni is nervously pacing along the edge of the sea, thinking about the first important test of his life that he will face today. His uncle is going to begin teaching him to paddle a canoe. Canoes are only used in coastal waters, but they are the oldest type of craft used for traveling and fishing at sea. Aluni must learn the fundamentals of paddling a canoe over the next few days. A respected elder leads all the villagers to the beach for a traditional religious ceremony to bless Aluni. He is now 15 and considered a man, so on this day he has to prove he has the courage and strength to be a fisherman. Accompanied by his father, Aluni is setting out to sea. This is his first expedition, an important event in his life. In other parts of Africa, boys must show their ability to hunt wild animals when they come of age. On Lamu Island, however, boys must catch a shark from a sailboat. Aluni can't wait to prove himself. Unfortunately for him, though, his coming-of-age rite has not come in the prime fishing season. The southwest monsoon has swept away most of the fish, so Aluni is afraid he won't be able to catch a shark. A few hours have passed, but Aluni still hasn't seen any sharks. He's afraid to face the villagers empty-handed. But this doesn't seem to concern his father, probably because he has had a similar experience. He is also well aware that the important thing is for his son to learn about the sea and his responsibilities as a man. His father already has a baby shark waiting in the ship's hold for a loonie. At sunset, the father and son sail back, and people rush to the beach to welcome them. When they bring the boat ashore, a loonie stands proudly in the boat carrying the baby shark. The crowd cheers and dances in celebration for the new ocean warrior. This has been going on year after year, generation after generation in Kenya. An annual sailing race is held on Lamu Island on the day before New Year's Day. At the sound of the whistle, the people rush to their boats and hoist their sails. The triangular sails on their boats are well known in the world's maritime history as Arabian sails. Seeing them set off for the race brings to mind a period in history several centuries ago. According to an early Western document, Arabs reached the east coast of Africa as early as the 1st century AD in their ships with their distinctive triangular sails. Historical records like these provide clues for the underwater archaeologists on Lamu Island. Seeing all the relics they've recovered that are obviously of Arabic origin, a hypothesis naturally emerges. This shipwreck seems to be an Arabic ship. It may have been an Arabian trade ship that sunk before reaching its destination. After a few centuries, it was forgotten at the bottom of the sea. Malindi is Kenya's third biggest city, and 5 kilometers to the south is the site of Kenya's oldest city of Gedi. Arabic architecture and inscriptions can be seen among the ruins, as though it was once occupied by Arabs. This seems to support historical records that indicate that Arabs reached the east coast of Africa and settled here. Ahmed has been working on one of the most important tasks in his life over the past few days. As an expert working in the Fort Jesus Museum, he is studying the history of Kenya. This has led him to appreciate the country's history as well as his family's history. These pieces of brown paper are Ahmed's most precious possessions, and he rarely shares them with anyone outside his family. This record of a family's ancestors is known in the West as a family tree. Ahmed's is Kenya's oldest known family tree. His most important task now is to continue writing the record of his family tree. Ahmed now lives in an old part of Mombasa, but he was born and raised on Lamu Island. The story of his family also started on this small island. An Arab merchant named Soliman reached Pate Island in the 12th century. He fell in love with the daughter of the king at first sight and decided to settle there with his beloved. Later, Soliman led his growing family to Lamu Island. This Arab merchant is Ahmed's ancestor. These pages record the family's history and document the first member of the family to settle here. There is an interesting story behind every name. There are many such families on Lamu Island, some of whom go back even farther in history, even though they have not left a written record. But people still don't know what it was that brought the Arabs here to settle. Sidi's wife carefully cleans his oil lamp before each trip. His wife hopes that the oil lamp will light his way and keep him safe as he travels to remote and dangerous places. Sidi also prays for Allah's protection. Sidi sets out in the early morning, switches ships twice, and then walks for 3 hours before finally reaching his destination at noon. This desolate beach in eastern Kenya is covered in weeds and brush. Sidi comes here alone, looking for a treasure from heaven. The treasure comes from the huge sperm whale. When its stomach is irritated by a foreign material, such as the beak of a squid, it coats the irritant with a waxy substance known as ambergris and expels it from its body. It's the ambergris that brings Sidi here. He discovered there was ambergris on this remote beach about a year ago and made it his secret treasure island. Through experience, Sidi has sharpened his sense of sight and smell. There are few other experienced ambergris collectors like him on Lamu Island. Even with experience, finding the ambergris is not so easy. The beach is totally enveloped by darkness at night. Sidi lights his oil lamp so he can continue his search by its faint glow. This is his second day on the island, and he prays for Allah's help. For Sidi, the highly profitable ambergris makes all his painstaking efforts worthwhile. Ambergris has been one of the most expensive commodities in the Indian Ocean region since the 7th century AD. In Imperial China, ambergris was reserved exclusively for the use of the emperor. Ambergris is a treasured commodity that is difficult to acquire. A piece of ambergris may float in the ocean for decades or even centuries before washing up on shore. In his 20 years of collecting, Sidi has found less than 20 pieces of ambergris. When the whale first expels the ambergris, it's a smelly slurry that floats on the ocean. It gradually hardens to a waxy gray-black blob with a sweet, earthy scent. Though mostly replaced by synthetics, it's still used in some high-end perfumes. Meanwhile, the archaeologists have made a surprising discovery among the coral. It's ivory that must have come from a shipwreck. Both ivory and ambergris were valuable commodities at the time, so perhaps it was these treasures that attracted the Arab merchants to the east coast of Africa. This is an ancient Kenyan folk song called Song of the God of Medicine, which Kenyan manual laborers often sing as they work as a plea for the protection of the God of Medicine. These workers are mining stone to build houses. This kind of stone is formed by long-term sedimentation of coral. Because it's very porous and waterproof, it's used as a high-end local construction material. Although coral reefs are present all along the east coast of Africa, this type of stone is not easy to obtain. For this reason, it's only used in mansions and palaces. It's still possible to see traces of its past glory in the ruins of ancient Gedi. This huge ancient city was built in the 13th century, mainly using expensive coral rag. This seems to show that Gedi was a wealthy city-state. The area of the site explored so far has revealed thick city walls, palaces, mosques, assembly halls, court, houses, and grave sites. Judging from the porcelain pieces and coins they found, in addition to the Arabic architecture, the archaeologists realized that it must have been a city that grew prosperous from trade. The unique geographical location and wide variety of available commodities attracted many Arab traders, who eventually developed a trading center. Locals gradually began participating in the trade as well. The Arab residents tried to recreate a city as they remembered their hometowns, resulting in a blend of Arabic and African influence. Cities like this, mostly populated by Arab traders, are known as Swahili city-states by scholars. The city-state developed and prospered because of trade. Arab merchant ships brought generation after generation of Arabs as part of the maritime trade, bringing with them prosperity and civilization. There are still many people on Lamu Island who are descended from Arab traders that married locals. They are known as Swahilis, and their culture is a mixture of Arabic and African influences. People still wonder how the Arabs bridged the religious divide with the locals. The religious beliefs and practices of the Arabs, whose lives revolved around Islam, were very different from those of the Africans. Children began studying Arabic and the Quran at the age of 6 from imams in mosques of Kenya. It seems that the Arabs decided to spread their faith as they put down roots and started families in Kenya. Eventually, the locals came to accept them, and they came to accept the locals. Swahili is a combination of the Bantu language and Arabic. It represents the merger of two nationalities and two cultures. The Swahili people have always believed in compromise to resolve conflict and belief to win trust. The Swahili people established 37 city-states along the eastern coast of Africa over the following centuries, which attracted people from far and near. These are from several different ethnic groups in Kenya, all of whom display signs of changes brought about by cultural blending. This blending has not only created huge wealth, but a glorious period of history as well. There is a line in Swahili, in Kenya's national emblem, that means all pulled together. But few people know its true Swahili meaning. In Arabic, it means seacoast. This is an archaeological site on the outskirts of Malindi. The archaeologists hope to find out more about the history of this city, which was established in the 14th century. Suddenly, Ding Yu spots two apparent leg bones. It's not at all unusual in an archaeological dig to expose human remains. As he continues his careful digging, he exposes a full human skeleton. It appears to be an ancient gravesite. Then, less than a meter away, Ding Yu finds what looks like fragments of finger bones, indicating another possible skeleton. As more bone fragments are found of the skeleton, Ding Yu begins to feel on edge. There are signs of heavy cuts made on the bones, indicating that this person probably didn't die a natural death or from an accident or disaster. It appears there was some kind of deadly incident. The local onlookers begin debating among themselves about what could have happened. Then a third skeleton is found that belongs to an adult woman and a child skeleton nearby. It appears to be a mother and child that were likely the victims of some kind of violence. The locals watching the dig go silent when they see this sad scene. Perhaps they are trying to imagine what kind of horrible event could possibly have happened here. And what Ding finds next is even more shocking. Over 30 skeletons are found in just one 40-square-meter area, some of which show signs of fatal cuts. It appears to be the site of a massacre. The remains come from the 15th or 16th century, about the time of the establishment of Malindi. But more research is needed to confirm the connection. The pain of this period of history has become a distant memory for most Kenyans. The coast may have seen violence in the past, but it's now generating new hope. The coast can mean prosperity, but in the past, it has also brought tragedy. Just as it says in the Kenyan historical saga, Hatchlam, when the tangible city is destroyed, the intangible spirit remains. This is a day for ancestor worship. Like she did last year, 13-year-old Garcia goes to the countryside outside the village alone to visit her father's grave. It's the cycle of life. The pulse of civilization has persisted uninterrupted in the land of Kenya through all the country's ups and downs.